to go live. And we are live. Hey, we are live. And we're just starting broadcast here. So we're, been live for 10 seconds, 5 seconds. Okay. I'm just making sure everything is set up. Hey, everybody. Welcome. I should start there. Welcome to live stream. I'm trying something new for the live streams. And if this works, we might use it for the 1 hour Jedi study that we do, that I've done twice, that I would like to implement more of, but we'll see how that goes. So thank you for everybody who has shown up. Buffering. Let me know, again, as all our live streams, whether we're doing Star Wars gaming or we're doing, Jedi Hour, whatever. Let me know how the audio is, how the video is, like if there's any issues. Again, I'm trying a new system here with as you can see. No, that way. Jeez, this is why I'm bad at reversing it too. Don't tell anybody. That's why I'm using StreamYard, trying it out, as you can see. If it works good, if this becomes something regular, I might actually upgrade, and we might do more of this. But we'll see. Audio sounds great. And yeah, so we're going to, and Raylia, bam. Oh, see, this is what I like about it. Okay, cool. There we go. We are good. We are good to go. Audio sounds great, supposedly. Okay, so for everybody who's just tuning in, we have Professor someone throwing down some interesting information. Anyways, so for this video, we are going to be reading from the Situational Jedi. Yeah, we're going to be we held a vote, and the chapter on attachment won out, and that's the one we are going to be reading from. Hopefully everything is working okay, and hopefully the stream works out okay. We shall see. Kind of just waiting a little bit, just in case there's anybody else who wants to join in for the live stream. I barely put out the notice that we were doing it right now, so waiting for 2 seconds or a minute. I don't know. You are free to comment and post comments and things like that, and then I can see those comments and I can highlight them, which I think is pretty nifty and cool and neat. Anyways, the book, by the way, it's about it's about that, but it's actually not going to be this thick if you get the paperback when it's out May. So real quick before I begin on this, I'm just going to read the chapter. It's a few pages. I'm going to enjoy that. One of the things that I wanted to do about this chapter on attachment was talk about expectation versus acceptance. I really felt that was an important lesson to be had, and for some reason, the way that I write, I did not really get to that point in this chapter. So I just want to take a second here and say that where a lot of our attachments come from, and where a lot of our issues come from, more than attachments, is our attachment to expectation. The attachment to expectation is what tends to damage our peace and tends to rile our emotions more than anything. So when looking at attachment, you need to really look at what are your expectations, because we expect a lot from ourselves, from the world, for some reason, from other people. We tend to expect things. And when we really look at those expectations, there's usually nothing like there for them. There's no like record of, oh, this is how the world's always works, so I expect it. It tends to be kind of the opposite, where we're hoping for something, and we put our hopes into the expectation category instead of just leaving it as a hope. And we kind of grab onto this attachment of outcome, which is something which I do discuss in the book, is people think attachments is all about people and things, but it's also about ideas and outcomes, and you get attached to specific concepts like that. All right, so we're going to start. And again, if you have any comments or questions or anything, I think I'll stop. There's each chapter is broken up in 2 sections. We have the summary, right? And then we have the lore. And then we have damaging a book. I hope no book lovers are watching. The toolbox. Don't worry, it's just a proof. It's fine. It's meant to, and besides, I was reading it at work, and a dog put his drooly mutt face right into the book. Right into the book. And so the pages are already dirty and watermarked. Then we have my experience. And then we have the focus. Okay, so we'll talk about each one as we go. Summary is the summary of the chapter, what we're going to talk about. Dog ate my homework. Let's see. Wait, hang on. We got some comments, and I want to do this thing. I promise we're going to get to it, and hopefully we won't be here that long. I promise. Let's see. What did Wheeler say? Attachment leads to entitlement. Entitlement leads to the dark side. That's we're going to talk about attachments, because we're going to get to it. There's some things about attachment. Dog ate your homework. Kind of. I mean, didn't eat it, just got it really dirty and messy. So, yeah. I don't know. Can you see? Like, look at that. You can see the dirt. That's, yeah. All right. Okay. Get out of here. Okay. So let's begin with the summary, right? Attachment, a Jedi misconception. The summary. Hang on to your robes, my colorful unicorn Jedi. We are about to tackle an infamous misconception about the Jedi way. Attachment is forbidden, says Anakin Skywalker in Attack of the Clones. Now, I just spent a good deal of time writing the chapter before discussing the importance of relationships. So I'm not going to repeat all of that, but I will tell you to go read it on May the 4th when this book is out, if you want to quote teenage Anakin at me. This is a misunderstood aspect of Jediism, and we are going to clear it up right now. You are already attached to things. You are attached to way more than you even realize. There are ideas you are attached to in a very deep way. There are absolutely people and probably pets that you are currently attached to. If you are expecting a chapter, if you are expecting a chapter on how to learn to let go of that which you fear to lose, Yoda quote, then you are going to be disappointed, because that isn't the point. No, you are attached to outcomes, beliefs, and habits that are way more damaging than not wanting to lose a loved one. You might even be so attached to the idea of who you are that changing is an appalling idea. Who cares if you are a damaged, toxic troll that poisons decent ideals, because that's just who you are? That is an attachment way more concerning than I don't want my spouse to die. So let's be clear about this. You and every single Jedi out there has attachments. These attachments range from the obvious, the goodest boys, we know who we're talking about, yes we do, to the more overlooked, conflict avoidance to the detriment of personal health, masquerading as keeping the peace. You're going to have to read that one to make sense of it. Oh, did I mention everyone has attachments? Yeah. That includes the wisest and most knowledgeable Jedi out there, down to your average Jedi such as myself. So attachments are not against the Jedi way at all. The problem becomes when we allow our attachments to override our reason. Does this sound familiar? It should, as it is the base lesson behind the Jedi Code, specifically the line, "There is no emotion, there's peace." Obviously, we have and feel emotions, but what we seek to do is develop equanimity, the ability to feel deeply and openly without uncontrolled emotional knee-jerk reactions. Same exact thing applies here. Feel openly, feel deeply, have your healthy attachments. That's an important key word there. But don't let those override your decision making. Healthy attachments versus dangerous attachments is something you have to understand as well. Holding on to your poo-poo behavior because you have no idea who you would be without it is really unhealthy. I know someone who wouldn't give up drinking alcohol for the longest because it was such a known part of their character. Who were they if they weren't the guy who could drink everyone under the table? An attachment which had a very unhealthy effect on his life. Loving and wanting the best for your pets and making sure they have all they need for a long and healthy life, that is a healthy attachment as long as it doesn't get out of control. Again, don't be so attached to being the cat person who adopts all the cats that you eventually run over budget and can't take care of them or yourself. As basically all things within the Jedi path, look to find the balance to help maintain a healthy and beneficial lifestyle. Oh, and those of you out there who are so attached to your younger days, you know the days, the ones where you were healthier, more fit, able to do things you can no longer do. Yeah, that is an unhealthy attachment. Breaking yourself over and over again because you refuse to accept your current situation is not Jedi determination. That isn't how you improve and grow. It is holding on to a past version of yourself, but you don't have a time machine. You have to accept where you are in this moment before you can work toward moving beyond it. But I'll address you more in the limitations chapter, again, available May 4th. Instead, let's look at what our lore advises for attachments. All right, so before I move on to the lore section, we got some comments, and I'll look in here. And if you have like questions on the summary, because like I said, we'll do each, as it's broken up, we'll do each thing, and I'll give you time to discuss or question or be like, what the heck? All right, let's see. Look forward to buying it. Thank you, Christopher. Appreciate that, sir. Appreciate that. What do we got here? It's usually 3, because I guess there's, if you, I don't know what this. I am kind of attached to the air I breathe. I don't know. I mean, attachment to survival, maybe. I am letting go of my attachment to my daughter while she goes to college. She's got to forge her own path. But again, is that letting go? I think that's a misunderstanding of the word, as we talked about in the beginning. Like, every Jedi has attachments. Everything's about being attached to something, and being attached to your loved ones is fine. You can be attached to them and still respect their path and their independence. You can do that, like those things aren't mutually, you can be like, I support you in this. There's healthy attachment versus unhealthy attachment. All right, so let's jump into the lore section if we're good. Thank you. Also, Talon made a comment. Touch, and I can highlight that. I can show that. Touched on some issues I struggle with in attachment. There's a reason why I wrote it. Like, I struggle with that stuff too. So you have to be willing to to grow and move beyond. And that all starts with acceptance. And it's why I really wanted, sorry about that. Why I really wanted to originally write expectation versus acceptance kind of in this chapter. And I didn't really get to it. Let's see. Would you define unhealthy attachment as addiction? Addiction gets tough in it. Obviously, there's attachment in addiction, but addiction tends to be a chemical response. There's behaviors, and some people have like addiction problems beyond just choice, in a sense. Like it's a whole mess. Addiction's a whole mess. But yeah, like that's an unhealthy, especially I would even classify some people in recovery as having an unhealthy attachment, because if their program that they're in like went under, they would go under. And that's an unhealthy attachment. Anything where you are dependent, I would say, is an unhealthy attachment. Like that's what really classifies it, right? Unhealthy attachment to your computer would I actually say, I'll get to that later in the book, because it's in the chapter where I talk about where, the importance of being attached to things, where I actually mention a computer. And I'll talk about that. But like everything's impermanent, right? We have to understand that things go away. So anything that's attached to the detriment of yourself tends to be, it's unhealthy, so we'll get there. You'll see. Trust me, the chapter, we got points. There's one. We'll get there. But if you feel I haven't answered that question by, I don't know, by my experience, then we'll get to it. All right. Okay. So I'm going to start with the lore section. The lore section, the way it's set up is I have a Star Wars quote. It tends to be Jedi specific quote, and then except for this chapter does not start off with a Jedi specific quote, and then I kind of break it down with the APBP test. And for those of you at Jedi Living, you know exactly what that is and how that works. For those of you who don't, in the book, don't worry, we talk about it. I don't leave you guessing on what the heck APBP means. But for a quick explanation here, it just means applicable, practical, beneficial, and positive. And we're trying to make sure each of those points are hit with our fictional inspiration, that we can live it practically, applicably, all that in our life. That if we can hit all those points and we can, live by them, then that meets our philosophy. Then that's something we can integrate into our path. If it doesn't match those, then we might have a problem and you might need to let it go, right? Not be attached to Star Wars material just because it's Star Wars material, right? Can't be overly attached to that. So, so I write kind of my view, and then I kind of explore, not always, because I want you guys to explore as well, whether or not it passes the APBP test on your own, on whether or not you feel it passes the test and applies to everyday life. Is it applicable? Is it practical? Is it beneficial? Is it positive? Is this something that's gonna benefit my life? So let's begin. First one's a big quote. They're usually not this big. But this one was too good for the chapter to pass up. And I actually debated this recently on our Facebook page, Jedi Living Facebook page. Okay, here we go. But the Jedi can't be selfish. They can love, but they can't love people to the point of possession. You can't really possess somebody because people are free. It's possession that causes a lot of trouble, and that causes people to kill people and causes people to be bad. Ultimately, it has to do with being unwilling to give things up. The whole basis here is if you're selfish, if you're a Sith Lord, you're greedy. You are constantly trying to get something, and you are constantly in fear of not getting it. Or when you get it, you're in constant fear of losing it. And it's that fear that takes you to the dark side. It's that fear of losing what you have or want. And that's by George Lucas in the All Films Are Personal, an Oral History of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which was found on starwars.com. I try it for the quotes. I put in the sources so you know where you can look for it and things like that. So here's what I had to say on that. We'll continue. We're starting with the mic drop from the creator himself. When it comes to material things, own them, but do not possess them. When it comes to people, appreciate them, but know you do not own them. Attachment becomes a problem when it becomes possession, an idea of ownership. All things, including people, are impermanent. Accept this fact, and you'll be one step closer to appreciating what you have in the moment, because nothing lasts forever. Not your circumstances, not your life, not your favorite comic book, not even Star Wars. Eventually, all things fade. That is the way of things, the way of the Force. APBP applies to all aspects, even quotes from non-fictional sources and context. You cannot control the universe. You cannot stop decay any more than you can stop the stars from setting. Centering on your anxiety over whether or not something will last or pass or be obtained or be gone forever, it is all a fool's errand which takes you out of the present moment. Here, now, what can you control? What can you appreciate? What do you have that is worth your focus? And what are you doing currently to help build the future you hope for? Because right now is where the future is built. A lot of people would love the opportunity to go back and change one small thing in their life, which they feel would alter the whole course of their life. And yet that is precisely where you are at right now, in an area of life where you can do something and help change the course of your life. Adjust your focus and actions accordingly, and don't attach yourself to a specific outcome. And we'll get more on that later. So next quote. Wait, I've been listening to you reading the book, trying to understand something, practicing my English. Good luck. I'm of the school of Fifth Element, where I speak two languages. I speak English and bad English, and it's mostly bad English. Like this has technically been proofread by me and edited, and there's still mistakes in here, and it drives me nuts. So mental challenges I did not defeat all of them. While writing, I am not the best person to practice English with. But thank you for joining me anyhow. And if you have questions, I will get to them after each section. So feel free to type them in the comments and I'll go back to them. All right, on to the next quote. The future is to be lived, not prearranged. It's by Luke Skywalker from Legacy of the Force, Betrayal by Aaron Alston. Here is a good one for our little test, APBP test. These fortune cookie wisdoms can often fall horribly short in the practical and beneficial department. This quote reminds me of a scene in a movie where someone is saying you can never truly live in the moment because time is always moving forward. And when you focus on the present, it is already the past. It was a funny little bit, but it brings up the idea that we are always moving forward, always in motion. If we live in the moment, then the future is lived through our actions now. We can plan and scheme and wish and dream, but that ensures nothing. We can write out a 5-year plan, but planning alone doesn't build our future. We have to live it. We have to put in the work. If we look at the quote in that manner, then it seems more applicable and practical. I leave it for you to decide and how best to implement it. Personally, I see it as a nice little saying that reminds us we must live for the future. Our own future, sure, but also further beyond that. We can't just leave the future to the next generation and allow them to inherit our problems, including the ones we inherited. We have to be proactive and build something for them to grow upon, to lay a foundation so that their future is a viable one with hope to grow even further. Next quote. If no mistake you have made, yet losing you are, a different game you should play. That's by Yoda from the novel Shatterpoint by Matthew Stover, which is a good novel, by the way. I've said that more than once on this channel. Suck it up. Go read it. I mean, get this one first, but go read it. All right. While we don't get the option in the grand scheme of life, we certainly get the option to change direction within it. This goes back to being attached to outcomes and stubbornly holding on to things that don't serve us. For example, let's adjust this quote just a little and see how truly applicable it becomes. If no real mistakes you have made, yet in a troubled relationship you are, a different relationship you should seek. Now that one hits a little too close to home for me. I've been cast in the villain who could do nothing right and still clung to that relationship, attached to the idea of what should be, of what could be. And as the game came to a close, I threw a fit because I had attached myself so much to what should be. If you are in a situation and you find that it is a constant no-win scenario, then you need to cheat and rewire the Kobayashi Maru. Wrong franchise. You need to let go of your attachment to the game and pick another scenario. In other words, you need to make a change. Don't be so stubborn that you keep yourself in a bad situation just because you don't want to look like a quitter or a sore loser or a loser at all. Those are subjective labels that will probably be thrown on you anyhow. So you might as well walk away head held high. You gave your best. You played your best game and it wasn't good enough. That hurts. Dust off the ego, let it go, and move on to the next thing. Or, work on you so you can move on to the next phase when it comes around. Do not attach yourself to a never-ending cycle of self-loathing and deprecation simply because you refuse to remove yourself from a specific situation. You are worth more than that. You have great value as a person and human being. You have a strong desire to seek something more, and that is a beautiful and wonderful thing. Embrace it. Don't let your colors fade because you are sticking it out. Believe in your own self-worth and learn to walk away. All right, next quote. All right, I can answer that question real quick, actually. It'll be paperback and technically digital. Kindle's already available for pre-order. And there's a link on our community page. If you go to our community page, there's a link in probably 3 posts down or something like that. There's the picture of the covers on there, but there's a link to the pre-order for the Kindle version. You cannot pre-order the paperback version, but it will be available May 4th. Right? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. It should be available May 4th. So, okay, next quote. I realized that for the greater good, I had to let him go. Don't lose 1,000 lives just to save one. It's Ala Sakura from Clone Wars, Season 1, Episode 13. Okay. Now, unless you are in a profession where these types of decisions must be made, this probably isn't too applicable to you. On first glance, it seems that this quote doesn't pass our test. Most people pride themselves on their loyalty to their loved ones, especially their significant other. For the love of their life, they'll trade 1,000 for one. Star Trek fans have been having fun with this debate for years, as Spock infamously said, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. But again, unless one is making hugely impactful decisions, this rarely applies to everyday life. Whether we buy orange juice with pulp or orange juice without pulp isn't really affecting thousands of lives. Donating $10 to a good charity instead of giving it to our partner isn't really about something that impacts everyone's life. Now, we can spend a whole book discussing the definition and perception of good and greater good. There are thousands of books which already exist exploring such philosophical topics. For our purpose, we will boil down good to beneficial, and you can define that for yourself. Greater is simple math. So if it benefits you and your social circle, that is greater than merely one. I missed, or more than one. There's a whole brackets thing where I just make fun of my own small social circle. Unimportant. Okay, moving on. So all of this blah, blah, blah added, let's reframe the quote here. For example, I had a friend who was pretty toxic, but seemed to depend on me pretty heavily for advice and direction. I realized that for myself and my social circle, I had to let them go. Don't sacrifice the wellness of a few for the wellness of one. This becomes much more applicable and practical to everyday life. Would you give up your weekly grocery money for your family and give it to a homeless person? Sure, you can help a person, and that is great, but at what cost? How long does that help last, and at what cost? You can hang on to your toxic relationship, friend, family, etc., because you feel you can help that person, but at what cost to the self, to your circle, to your ability to help others? All this quote is truly telling us is simply this: don't sacrifice the bigger picture for the sake of instant gratification. Keep in mind the Jedi method. Jedi intent plus Jedi action equals Jedi outcome. Use this to figure how best to move forward without allowing your attachments to blind you. As for the APBP test, I leave it to you to determine this quote's value and worth. All right. Moving on to the next quote. Luigi, Star Wars is cool, man. All right. It's not that I gave up, but when the time comes, I am prepared to let my student go. And that's Luminara Unduli, I believe. Clone Wars Season 2, Episode 6 is where that one comes from. Let's cut to a hard truth. Nothing lasts forever. All material things break, get lost, and can be stolen. A vehicle loses its value as soon as you buy it. Houses can be destroyed in any number of ways. Gaming consoles have the lifespan of a gnat these days. Smartphones last maybe a year. Your shoes will get scuffed and your clothes will fade. No one lives forever, much to our dismay and heartbreak. All things are impermanent. Even this planet will eventually be gone along with all its history. Now, before we spiral into a nihilistic and existential crisis here, let's not forget the advice of keeping our concentration here and now, where it belongs. This isn't about what we will eventually lose as much as it is about enjoying and embracing what we have now. When addressing attachment, my motto is own, but don't possess. By all means, have that car, that cool gaming system, that nice collection of shoes. Enjoy the latest gadgets and partake in the newest trends, but realize it is a cycle. These are meant to be enjoyed in the moment because they will not last, and you will need to get comfortable with that fact. You need to embrace those memories so when the time comes that your phone dies, you aren't a distraught mess. Yes, losing an expensive piece of machinery is a bummer. It 100% sucks when something we saved up for breaks on us, or when our car requires an expensive repair. These are not fun moments, and they are taxing on us. However, we cannot stay in that mindset for long. Mourn, but focus on the solution rather than the problem. And do that sooner rather than later. The way we are able to do that is to know from the onset, this will be gone one day. Hopefully, that day is a long way off, but eventually this will come to an end, and I can be at peace with that because I am going to be grateful and cherish the moments I have now. Is this applicable, practical, beneficial, positive? You tell me. All right, our last quote for the lore section, and then we'll be moving on to the toolbox section. But again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, etc., we'll handle those. You can leave them in the comments, and we'll handle those before we move on to the toolbox section of this chapter. Okay. The desire to know the future sprang from the desire to control the future. The desire to control the future sprang from fear, the fear of the depthless pain and loss the future might hold. That's from Qui-Gon Jinn, from the Master and Apprentice book by Claudia Gray, which is a good book, and I recommend it. I do. I really enjoyed that book. It was a really good one. But be careful, because it inspired me to go back to the Jedi Apprentice series. So if you enjoyed the Jedi Apprentice series, it might encourage you to go back because of the dynamic between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. It's just, it's good stuff. All right. The number one attachment is to the nebulous future. A very close number two is probably to the idea of being right. Attachment to loved ones is probably number three. These attachments encourage us to be able to divine future knowledge and information. Anyone who is invested in stocks will tell you they would sacrifice a lot to learn about the future because, losing big in the stock market is a gut-punching, horrible feeling. Hence why corrupt politicians are always dealing in insider trading. Oh, look at us getting political in a Jedi book. Would you buy that new television if you knew in 3 days it would fall and break? I guys, pause just for a second. I just had there's kind of a conversation going on my phone. You're probably hearing the notifications, but talking about someone where they just moved before this COVID quarantine thing hit, and they were like, man, if I would have known, I wouldn't have done it, so that just applicable, whatever. Okay. So of course you wouldn't buy the TV if you knew it was going to break in 3 days. Would you get into that romantic relationship if you knew in 3 months it would be over? A lot of our decisions are based upon the assumption of what the future will hold, and we become very attached to those ideas. Otherwise, it seems like a wasted investment of time, energy, and resources. I feel this one passes our little test when we give time to think about it. We want to predict and control the future. So we try to control the current situation, and sometimes we even try to control the people within it. That desire for control all stems from our direct obsession and attachment, fearing the hard truth we talked about in the previous quote, that nothing lasts forever. You have to work on being willing to let go should the time come. Maybe it never does. Maybe your original NES is still functional and goes with you to the grave. Regardless, we have to understand that getting attached to things we cannot control is setting ourselves up for disappointment. I mean, I'm still attached to the idea that BioWare will fix the Mass Effect 3 ending and make an actual Mass Effect 4, but I've also accepted that I'll be disappointed forever in that. So sad. What can you control? As the character Yoda said in Empire Strikes Back, always in motion the future is. We build on our future by focusing on the present. We have goals and dreams, and we will get attached to making those into a reality. That is okay. That is a part of building for the future. Ultimately, we need to understand we can only control so much, and the rest we will just have to trust ourselves to survive and work through. I have had plenty of dreams which have not made it. Plenty, actually. Career, romance, like plenty of dreams, never even close to coming true. So, like, don't worry about it. I thought for sure I'd have my happily ever after. I've experienced the loss of those things, but I work on letting go of those attachments and focusing on the moment to build a future worth living. So that's the last of those quotes. That's the last of our lore section. Next is the toolbox section. What the toolbox section is in the book is that we look at Jedi texts. So like the Jedi Circle, Jedi Compass, 33 teachings of the Jedi. We look at those and how they apply, or which specific part of those applies to this specific topic or chapter. Okay, let's see. Star Wars is cool. I like the format. Thank you, Wheeler. Okay, we're good. Good, yeah. Okay, all right. I think we're good. All right. Excuse me. Let me get my green tea here. Okay, toolbox. Our first Jedi tool comes to us from the Jedi Compass. It states, attachments. Overcoming your attachments is not about getting rid of all your possessions or denouncing your family. Instead, this is about forward movement. In overcoming, subjugating your attachments, you are acknowledging what value these things have to you, and you recognize that there comes a time when you should no longer fight for your attachments, and you must let go. For a Jedi, overcoming attachments can extend to bad habits. Addiction would apply there. Unhealthy obsessions and connections to people that make us less than. Okay. That's not on me. That's a grammatical error. That's not on me. That's a copy and paste from the Jedi Compass. But anyways, connections to people that make us less than who we have chosen to be. All right. I mean, there it is. I'm not the biggest fan of the Jedi Compass, but what more really needs to be said here? I mean, I probably wouldn't use the word subjugating, but that is a very inconsequential complaint. Apply the APBP test here. Reflect on this and how it works in your life and situation. And there you go, Jedi. Sing Let It Go at the top of your lungs in the shower and take the next step forward. So for an example here, I don't always say a lot on the Jedi Toolbox because I feel the Jedi Toolbox, like these texts, are for you to dissect and to determine how they play into your life. So I'll offer my 2 cents like I did here, like especially when it's something like you can just, there you go, like let go of your attachments and work on it. I just leave that for you. There are other times where something like really gets to me, and I'll write like 3 paragraphs on a Jedi text because I'm like, ugh. But outside of that, I like to leave the Jedi Toolbox as short as possible so that you can like dig into it. I want Jedi to dig into it themselves and determine how it plays out, if it's even relevant. Because some of these I even say like, I don't know about this one, but you have to determine for yourself. So, all right, moving on to the next tool in our Jedi Toolbox. Of course, our old friend, the 33 Jedi Teachings, has something to say on attachment. Let's see if this tool can help us with attachments. Number 16, Jedi believe in letting go of their attachments and train on this. The fear of loss of one's attachments can lead to the dark side. And so, letting go and trusting in the will of the Force attitude needs to be developed by Jedi to overcome this fear of loss. For example, Anakin had a great fear of loss and was afraid that his mother would die. And after she died, his fear of loss was transferred over to Padme. He became obsessed with his fear of loss, and eventually this led him to the dark side and to horrible actions. Everything really belongs to the Force and not us. So we need to trust the Force and not be so attached to people and possessions and things. We need to do our best and give it our best shot, but then trust the Force for the outcome of events. Fear can be overcome by letting go and trusting in the will of the Force and giving everything over to the Force. We need to surrender everything to the will of the Force and believe that we will be taken care of and that all will go well for us and our loved ones. Only then can we defeat this fear of loss and have peace of mind. Perfect trust in the Force destroys the fear of loss, and we all need to train on this. I got thoughts about that one, but that's for you as well to determine. But yeah, I got some thoughts. All right, let's continue with with what's actually in the book. Okay. Personally, I'm not a fan of handing over our agency. It is just not my personal preference. I'm not speaking for the path there. Okay. So the last part of this really doesn't speak to me as an individual. Hopefully it helps you, since that is the goal of this book. But there are two core things that I think really stand out. The first is I really like everything belongs to the Force and not us. Now, regardless of your personal belief, this is just a great reminder that we truly possess nothing, as the first quote in our lore section tells us. Change the words the Force to the universe, and the message stands strong. Everything you have can be taken away. Nothing belongs to us. Ouch and wow, all at the same time. The next part that really stands out to me and I find helpful is I'm paraphrasing here, we do our best, give our best shot, and allow for the outcome of events. This is a distilled Jedi method to me. We give our Jedi intent. We act as best we can as Jedi and allow for whatever outcome may happen, both short-term and long-term. This goes back to the question of what can we control? Do what you can and let the rest play out as it will. A powerful message, in my opinion. So again, apply our test, reflect on this, and see if it helps you during this time. All right, so we'll be moving on to the My Experience. We're getting close. It's the My Experience section, and then the focus, and then that's the end of the chapter. So like 2 pages. 2 pages. But any questions, comments, concerns? That was interesting. Yeah, I got thoughts on that one. It gets a little too, but that's all Jedi text somewhere. Like, it's worth digging into. That's why I leave them in the book for you to dig into. Like, some of these you're going to read and you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to cross out this. I'm going to highlight that, but I'm going to cross out this because, sometimes it hits the nail on the head and sometimes it hits your thumb with the hammer, So it can be hit and miss, man, sometimes. So let's see. Let me move this so I don't. All right. Okay. My experience. All right, wait, hang on. Okay. Oh, and what did Wheeler say? Sorry, I'm in and out, deployed with the military. Don't even worry about it, man. Like, the video will be here. oh my God, we've already been here an hour. Jeez Louise. Okay, let me try to finish this up. The video will be here for you to go through. So this is all very oops, got another one. Let's see. It's all very timely information, and the same subject has come up each day. That's my hope with the book. What are you reading, please? The Situational Jedi, a Jediism guide for life. That's available May 4th. Pre-orders on Kindle are available now. Paperback version will be available on May 4th. How's my telemarketing or whatever? Is it doing okay? Am I being a good salesman? But it's the book, yeah, that's available or going to be available. And we're reading from the attachment section, and that's and we're going to be going on to my experience section. But yes, the point of the book, also to go back to this question, the point of the book is that that's why it's divided into like attachment or anger or fear. That's why the chapters are written that way, so that if you're dealing with something that keeps coming up every day, that you can go to that chapter and kind of go through it. And that's why it's also broken down in the way it is, that maybe you don't want to hear my blah, blah, blah on the subject, right? But you just want, what are some Star Wars quotes, or what are some Jedi quotes, some Jedi specific quotes from the lore that apply to this situation? Like, what can I take from it? Or maybe you're like, I just need to redirect my focus. So you go to the focus section and like, all right, so what can I do to redirect my focus? What do I need to look at? And then that way, that's why the chapters are broken up that way. So you don't have to read through a whole chapter to try to get something out of it. And it's why the chapters are subject based. That way, if you're just, you don't need, it's meant for you to pick up, put it on your bookshelf. If you never need to pick it up, awesome, right? But if you're having a tough time with like heartbreak or something like that, you can flip to the chapter and kind of go through it. So that's what it does. Let's see, where if you don't learn and grow, you stagnate. Jediism gives us that freedom. Well, yeah, I mean, Jediism and like a million other paths out there, but yeah, like it's important. Like studies have already been done, like in regards to like Alzheimer's and dementia and stuff. Like you need to keep your brain active. You need to, learning and growing is always a part. Chris, you're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. So, okay, my experience. I considered many ways to explore this topic. If you have read other chapters of this book, and actually, and I'm doing this again, this is why this video is super long. I did release a couple sample chapters that you could read digitally, PDFs. Yeah, so just so you know. So technically you could have read other chapters. Otherwise, then no, you haven't read other chapters. Okay, if you have read other chapters of this book, or you know me personally, then you know I prefer to use experiences in which I have failed more than I succeeded. Like many topics in this book, there's a long list of experiences that I can choose from to highlight the idea behind them. But attachment offers something unique. Yeah, I could talk about my attachment to my pets or loved ones or relationships. However, the most powerful attachment we tend to face is the attachment to specific outcomes as well as to being right. Combining those two highly felt and often overlooked attachments is what I want to focus on here. I've had a lot of moments when things did not go how I thought they would. I'm sure this is something we all know very well. We have this idea of how things are going to play out, how the ending is going to be in a certain situation, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves staring at this ending we never considered a possibility. It is in those moments that we find ourselves tested because our emotions can be all over the place. Standing in the aftermath of a situation we couldn't possibly have guessed, and now having to find some way forward when the wind has been knocked out of us. Sitting here, I recall my time seeking a career in law enforcement and how I kept being surprised at how those situations played out. I think about the time I tried out for my high school basketball team and just embarrassed myself. A direct result of social anxiety, but not that I knew it at the time. I think of my marriage or my last relationship where I was so sure of the happily ever after. I think of the time I was talking with book publishers and thought for sure I would be the first published Jedi. Not the case. Daniel M. Jones beat me there. Time and time again, from job interviews to personal goals, I thought I knew the right course forward and could reach my intended outcome. Time and time again, I was met with the ever-changing flow of life, reminding me that things are fluid and that there is no such thing as a certain outcome. Social media debates show us a real attachment to being right. So much so that being accurate, being factual, being truthful, even being honest are all sacrificed for the perception of being right. Community debates often use fallacies in the name of being right. Oh, your response is clearly emotional. Such a shame. As if emotions are forbidden to the Jedi. As if emotions or lack thereof determine the validity of an argument. After 20 plus years in the online Jedi community, I've been on all sides of this. I have been extremely attached to the idea of being right. I have felt justified in using heavy-handed and erroneous actions because I felt I was right and I refused to accept otherwise. Most of the time, I have been shown to have been right or had valid stances years down the line, but that does not justify poor behavior in the moment. More importantly, it is not the point. Being a Jedi isn't always about being right. It is about understanding that all things allow us to grow and learn. Right, wrong, good, bad. It is all about experiencing the full breadth of life and being empowered and enriched by it. In all relationships, especially intimate ones, there are disagreements. We hold on to these way too long out of ego. The idea of, I was right, I'm not wrong, I shouldn't have to apologize or make amends for something that I am right about. That is an unhealthy attachment. Besides resolving a verbal conflict isn't about being right or wrong. It is about the behavior shown and taken during said conflict. You can agree to disagree. It is all a matter of how you do it. So being attached to being right is purely for ego's sake and has no bearing on the health of the relationship. Two opposite people can live happily ever after as long as there is communication and respect and love. Because being right isn't the issue. So let go of that attachment. And yes, this is in my experience section, which means I absolutely have been guilty of this. It doesn't work if you are more concerned about being right than appreciating and listening to your loved one's views. I'd also add on that, like, it's being right is important for certain things, like, science and things like that. Like, you want to be right? But science itself is experiment-based process. The scientific method eats itself. It's always moving forward, right? So, and again, in science, you have a hypothesis, and you try to prove that hypothesis through experimentation and repeated tangible results. And if it doesn't happen, and a lot of the problems that we've seen in science over the years, throughout human history, is the attachment of scientists attachment to being right. So they kind of like alter the experimentation or alter the results to kind of always to get to be right. And that's where our problems in why science is always eating itself and being like, I know people who complain about it, like, oh, science said this like years ago. It's been like that for years and now they're changing it. It's like, well, yeah, that's how it works. As we gain new information, as we gain new knowledge, and as we do new experiments, we learn new things, and we're no longer attached to that idea of being right. We don't need to hold on to that idea. That's an attachment, the unwillingness to change. Because we've been doing this for years, we should just keep it that way. No, like we need to let go of that attachment and be willing to grow from it and stuff like that. All right, so that was my experience section. Moving on to the focus section, and that will end this chapter. And then again, question, comments, concerns. Again, we're at an hour. This is crazy. Okay, the focus. Attachment is the great fabricator of illusions. Reality can be obtained only by someone who is detached. And it's a quote by Simon Weil. But which it's fun to explore. That's why I added in these. For the focus section, I always add in a quote by a non-fictional person. And again, it just allows you to explore the subject. It's all meant for you to explore, not to necessarily give you an answer on something, right? But to explore as a Jedi how you want to approach, this issue currently that you're facing in your life, whatever it may be. Okay, the focus. The Jedi focus here is mainly about awareness and reflection. As has hopefully been made clear, you can be attached to people, ideals, physical, spiritual, things of all kinds, but you don't allow those attachments to override your judgment. Are you going to run inside a house to save your spouse? Oh, I missed the key word there. Are you going to run inside a burning house to save your spouse? Probably. Your pet? Maybe. Your TV? I really hope not. Jedi philosophy isn't saying don't help or don't bother to save anyone or anything. We are not preaching apathy or shrugging when people are going through a difficult time. Jedi hold a view that we are all connected. Instead, we have to realize when we have done all we can. When there is no other options, when we have to part with things we find joy and freedom in, we can only do so much. And beating ourselves up after the fact when there's nothing we can do is just unhealthy behavior. It isn't about giving up. It is about being willing to let go. So on that one, we could get more into it, obviously. All this, the entire book, I try to keep it as short as possible, which is difficult for me by the video time, obviously. But it's important to understand what you're risking and what you're again, attachment to TV. Do not run into a burning house to save that, man. That's the material stuff. Own but don't possess, possess but don't own, that kind of thing. You have to let go. You have to be willing to know when something's done, and as much as it hurts, right? And it's okay for it to hurt. I don't think I really put that in here, but it's okay for it to hurt. It's okay for you to feel bad about it. When a relationship ends and you're attached to that, it's okay to feel heartbreak. It's okay to feel that way. Still be a Jedi, which, by the way, there's a chapter in this book you need to read. My most important Jedi lesson. It's towards the end of the book. Highly recommend that one. Anyways, it's okay to feel those things. It's okay to be that. So just, that's attachment. It's going to end. Embrace the moment. Appreciate it. It's going to end. And when it does, it's probably going to suck. It's probably going to suck. And that's okay. That's okay. You want to move forward, though. Grieve, move forward. Don't deny yourself. Don't try to be a robot. Don't try to be unfeeling. Again, as the book said, it's not about apathy or shrugging it off. It's about, equanimity. It's about feeling. It's about acknowledging. And then when you're ready, moving forward. Okay. All right. So adjust the focus. The Jedi Circle lists gratitude as one of the 5 values. This means being present and taking stock of what we have in our lives. The friends, family, food, water, shelter, clothes, phones, whatever we have, we need to take note of them and be grateful for them. It is also good to appreciate the things we don't have. Having goals to obtain something is start that one over. Having goals to obtain something we desire is good motivation and can help push us forward. Also, there are plenty of things we are happy not to have in our lives. I am grateful not to have a wasp's nest in my room, which I think most people would be grateful for. Maybe that's just me, though. I'm glad there are no wasps in my room. There's currently plenty of ways for us to examine our life and to find true appreciation in where we are and where we are going. This helps us understand that there is a cycle to life. Things come and go in our life, and we have to appreciate what we have currently. That way, when things are no longer with us, we can still cherish the memories, as we talked about in the chapter on grief and loss. There's a great moment in the book Last of the Jedi, number 7, Secret Weapon, which explains by Jude Watson, by the way, which explains attachment in an understandable way, but also highlights a very important lesson. And this is a quote. It's not so hard to explain, Siri had finally answered. To have without wanting to possess or influence, to cherish without keeping, to have without holding. Ferris remembered nodding. He had thought he had gotten it. As usual, he wanted to please his master. I understand, master. Siri looked at him and then smiled. No, you don't. It's not something to understand. It's something to strive for. Quotes, tools, experiences, all of this can be shared and given and taught. You can know a thing inside and out, but ultimately, it will be a constant struggle. It is something we seek to balance throughout our lives. Maybe after 30 years of struggle, it will be second nature. But so far, my experience tells me it is a lifelong balancing act. We can understand the principle, but how easy is it to live by when we lose a cherished attachment? If it were as simple as knowing, this book wouldn't need to exist. Another focus is about internal awareness. The Jedi Compass lists this as a Jedi works to become aware of their emotions and things which make them tick. They learn of their flaws and strengths, seeking to reconcile a life of those flaws which they cannot change with the strengths that they have been blessed with. In this, a Jedi must be constantly looking inward for their motivations, their directions, what moves them, and why they allow it to do so. And I actually use this internal awareness from the Jedi Compass more than once in this book. And in one of those sections, I talk about more kind of like my own thoughts on that. But again, these tools are for you to dissect. And again, you might be highlighting one part and crossing out another, and that's okay. That's fine. Don't think you have to take this stuff in stone and it's immutable, right? Like, there's Jedi's a box. It's a big box. There's a lot of wiggle room in there. Okay. All right. This reflection and self-honesty. All right. This is my words, by the way. I'm done with that quote. This reflection and self-honesty allows a Jedi to understand what motivates them and the things they truly appreciate in life, the things we seek to have and are attached to in our lives. So we use meditation, reflection to really dig into the self and make sure we shine a light of awareness on our inner being. This is the foundation of another core focus, acceptance. The Jedi Circle has a quip: acceptance is peace. A Yoda quote, which I lost the source from, states, out of acceptance comes wisdom. Not an acquirement wisdom is, not knowledge wisdom is, not information. This quality of tremendous acceptance is wisdom. We have to acknowledge who we are, what we will fight for, how far we will go, our limitations, and accept all of it. We have to accept who we are as a person before we grow as a Jedi. This directly affects our attachments and our understanding of what we may be overly or even dangerously attached to and how we can find a good way forward. That was kind of like a remnant where I talked about before when I started this chapter of expectation versus acceptance, kind of a remnant of what, because I actually rewrote this chapter a couple times because I wanted that focus, and I wanted to talk about acceptance versus expectation and things like that. And so that's the end. And then it moves on to fund, the Laughing Jedi. But yeah, so book is available. Questions, comments in the concerns, things you can comment, and I'll do that. So so yeah, so we'll do that. But attachment is about understanding that things go right. It's easy to know, as we just talked about, right? Like you can know a thing, but it's still gonna be a struggle. So it's a pet's gonna die. It still hurts when it does. That's okay, right? Like but you can still take pictures. It doesn't mean you're mean to your pet during its life. You still cherish them. You still cherish the moments. You create memories. You embrace the experiences. That's what this comes down to. It's like, yeah, the universe is ever moving, ever flowing. The idea of being right. You could be right in one moment and wrong the next about the same subject. Like at one time the food pyramid was right. At another time, no, it's not so right. Like things change, things adjust. The earth was once flat. No, sorry, that idea, that attachment to being right has been proven wrong. So we have this ever-flowing relationship with attachment. And so, yeah, enjoy the things that you have, enjoy it and appreciate them, acknowledge them. Hey, I have, the ability to play Final Fantasy VII Remake on a PS4 on a nice TV. Like that's amazing. Not everybody has that. That's something to appreciate and value and care about. Those things are going to break. Those things are going to be gone. That's going to, that's part of life, and it'll suck. It will suck, but you embrace it, you move on, and things like that. All right, let me see if I can get to questions, comments. Let's see. Timely information. Did that one. Thank you. Well done. Thank you, Christine. Let's see. Will paperback be available in UK? Only Kindle version is listed at the moment. Paperback will be available anywhere. Amazon and Barnes and Nobles online can be things. So yeah, like Amazon, I think, what is it? Amazon Co. UK or something like that. They'll have it. The paperback version will be out by May 4th, but you can't pre-order it. That's an Amazon thing. I don't know why. You can pre-order the Kindle version. You cannot pre-order the paperback version. I'm not sure why that is. So let's see. I like each chapter being a meditation. Provides a lot to ponder and throughout the rest of your day. Yeah. Again, like I wanted to break it up. The subjects, I wanted to break up the subjects so people can kind of like jump to what they're dealing with within the moment. Because again, it's not like we deal with attachment in a way that's unhealthy, like every day. Sometimes, but not always. So you wouldn't always need to like read through the attachment chapter to get to something relevant, So I wanted to break those up, and I wanted, like I said, maybe you just want to see what the fictional Jedi said on these subjects. That's fine. Like jump to that. Maybe you want to see what tools Jediism has like used towards these subjects. That's fine. Jump to them. And again, like I want you to explore them, and I want you to consider them, because everybody's life, Jedi or not, is different, right? Like every Jedi has a different life and kind of experiences the path a bit differently. And so it's important for each Jedi to have the same material, but to work through it within their life, because you'll get a little different conclusions there and things of that nature. See, print version available on May 4th. Kindle is, yep, that is correct. Opie said, yeah, that is all correct. What do we got here? That was awesome, Opie. Things I really need to hear right now. I appreciate this and the time you've taken, the detail of it all, and the work. I actually noticed typing errors. Again, mental challenges that I work through on the daily. Those who have ever read my raw writings know they know how actually polished this is. But for those of you who don't, there's gonna be some errors. There's probably gonna be some 3-star reviews just because of that. Let's see. I am ordering both digital hard copy. I won't be able to wait that long. Yeah. The digital should have the click. I'm pretty sure I got it all worked out to where you just click on the subject and it'll just take you there. So that should be good. I can't use Amazon, so I'll have to find a bookstore. Try barnesandnobles.com. I don't know if that's an online issue or just Amazon in general. If not, if you can buy online, like if it's just Amazon that you can't use or don't want to use or anything like that. I know there's some people not happy with Amazon right now. Fair deal. If it's just an Amazon thing, I can get you a direct link to an online store to get it, I think, or maybe I'll do it myself. I don't know. We'll see. If you need, keep in contact, if you need an alternative way to get it, let me know. Some attachments can be beneficial. We discussed. It was in the beginning of the chapter. I am becoming more aware of the Force. Thank you for writing. No problem. All right, everybody. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Leave them here. If not, I will end this. We're already at almost 80 minutes long of a live stream. Poor people who watch this not live. Ouch. Also, again, you can comment here or you can comment on the video, and like in the comment section, whether or not you like this setup for Jedi Hour. I think we can maybe use this for Jedi Hour. That way we can highlight questions and things like that and kind of do things that way. If you remember the couple of videos we did on Jedi Hour, but I kind of want to do more of those. I know more people want the green screen stuff, and I'll get there eventually. But I've been back at work for like 2 weeks now, so that's why we haven't been having videos. I've been working and trying to get back into shape, like handling that work and stuff. It's been killing me. I've been coming home just toasted mentally and physically. So that's why our videos have been slow, but we'll look to get back onto that schedule and get it done. But so thank you, everybody. By the way, everyone, Wheeler, Raylia, Chrissy, all of you guys, everyone, all you Jedi, for coming and being a part of this. Talon, thanks for the Jedi. Thanks for the Jedi reading hour. Yeah, was not my plan to go this long, but that's fine. All right, that's fine. Thank you. Yeah, thanks everybody for joining me for this reading. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll look to have more videos coming on. As always, you can always get in contact, with the channel through like the community tab or whatever, and we'll try to keep in touch and keep the videos going and all that good stuff. And on May 4th, you can pick up your copy of this poorly written, but actually, I like this book. This is this is probably the first book that I've written that I actually like. Obviously I like the idea behind it more than I like the execution, but that's just me. But yeah, so hopefully you enjoy it. I actually like it. I will actually support this book. But yeah, May 4th, check it out. And we'll see how my marketing goes. But all right, everybody. Thank you. May the force be with you.